Yeah, hello everyone. Today we are the fourth episode that we continue one case about the freedom from form principles. And today we will take a case that I mentioned before that is Clout 828 is I call it Dutch treat case. And this case is so very classical and could help us to understand some very basic principles and something you need to do and need to take care. So it's about a transaction for organic trees, for trees. Yeah, they are shifted from Netherlands to Germany. And the transaction is a little complicated because it's between the first issue is that it is a transaction, is a trade, is a contract between a person and a company or a person's company to another German company. So that is something we have to make sure that who is our the other side of the parties, the company or the person him that contact you. Yeah, we should be very carefully on this issue. And then if you don't feel comfortable with the other party, and then goes to the court to settle the issue. If you take these things seriously, please just go to the court. In this case, the buyer doesn't attend the court, doesn't show himself before the court. So at last, the court has ruled against him. Uh, so let's go to the case itself. Yeah, the case here is the PDF I downloaded from the Clout case website. The number is case 828. Yeah, it's decided by a Netherlands court, and it's a court of appeals of the Hertogenbosch. It's a small city in the central of Netherlands. And the seller is a Dutch person. Yeah, a Dutch person, not a company, a Dutch person. And versus a German company. Yeah, that German company is yeah, Pflanzenhandel. It's just buy and sell vegetables and buy and sell some trees. Yeah, and the appellant is a Dutch person and enter into a contract with a respondent of a German company for the sale and delivery of trees. Yeah, so we in the first sentence, we got the information that the buyer and the seller, who is the buyer and seller, is a German and Dutch counterparts. So that this case can be governed by the CSG, and also it's about the delivery of trees. Yeah, it's something organic. That means, yeah, the trees could be dead. Yeah, during the transportation, or in a in a bad condition when received by the buyer. Okay, the respondent, yeah, means the German company, the German buyer, did not pay the entire purchasing price and claiming non-conformity. Yeah, non-conformity means the goods doesn't perform as well as the contract has been expected. Yeah, although also lack for the quantity or the quality that contract has predicted. Yeah, also claim back a certain amount of the compensation. And the appellant just claimed, yeah, I have done my delivery, so you need to pay what you have received. And the result of this case, yeah, this case is won by the seller because this case, the most important part could be the conformity of the goods, which shall be demonstrated, shall be proven by the buyer. But the buyer doesn't. But the buyer didn't show up himself before the court. So we go to the mind map. Okay, so I have just introduced the fact. And then the first question, CSG is applicable or not in this case? Yeah, firstly, the both party has resided in the CSG contracting state is Dutch and German. So, yes. And then the goods is sale and delivery of trees. That means it's a good, not a service. All it's tangible goods, not intangible intellectual properties. And then there is no explicit agreement to exclude the CSG. So the CSG is applicable in this case. And then comes the something material. Yeah, who is the seller? Yeah, the person, the Dutch person, or the company, the Dutch company owned by the Dutch person. Yeah, to decide this question, there the writing document could be an indication, but it should be decided according to all of the circumstances, not just only according to the documents. Firstly, the documents, the writing documents, something like the catalog. Yeah, the seller has sent some catalog. Yeah, that catalog just indicate some companies they are owned by the Dutch person. Yeah, and the letterhead of the communication also indicating the corporation, the Dutch corporation, and invoice. Interesting. There is there wasn't just one Dutch company. There are multiple Dutch companies owned by that person. So that Dutch company that person has invoiced to the German buyer with the other names of the other companies. Yeah, yeah, it's complicated. The summary doesn't tell us tell us much about why the Dutch person just want to do such complicated things. It doesn't much clues, but we can imagine maybe because of some administrative reasons or some tax avoiding reasons. Yeah, they just doesn't like his personal name shown on papers. But then I marked this in the yellow. The money paid. Yeah, the money is the most important thing. The German buyer paid the money directly to the Dutch person's private account, the personal account. Yeah, and also the German buyer just issued some checks. Yeah, paying cash. That check was written in the seller's name. So that means the payment is done to the Dutch person is himself, not to the company. They are to show on the papers. And the buyer has claimed the nonconformity against the Dutch person and his companies shown on the paper. So for the buyer just doesn't know too much who will be the the, the the counterpart of this contract. So he sued both of them. Yeah, and the buyer doesn't show up in the court, so the Dutch court doesn't have to judge this case on everything he had on the papers. So the Dutch court has decided who is the seller, the Dutch person, because yeah, um, yeah, in substance, the Dutch person has orchestrated the whole transaction and received the profit in his person's account, in his personal account. And then the third issue on this case, yeah, is a little trivial but also important. The buyer has paid something. The buyer has paid some money, and that money belongs to which purchase order, the former one or the later one. Okay, so I'll just be quick. The CSG has no rule, but in this case, the Dutch law could be governing law. So, according to the Dutch law, the payment will be settled to the first, the oldest purchase orders. And then the fourth question is also important. Yeah, the buyer has claimed for the non-conformity of the trees delivered. And in this case, the buyer has made a notice of non-conformity after 1 month after receiving the trees. So in this case, the firstly, the Dutch code has firstly said the reasonable inspection time of this case, yeah, for the delivered trees shall be within 6 days after delivery. It's a relatively short term that if you, yeah, so the Dutch code just ruled that just say it's reasonable that the buyer receive these trees and check everything and inspect everything and then notice and notify the seller of any inconformity of any non-conformity within 6 days. Yeah, but in the court in a petition later, the buyer had argued, yeah, in this case, the defect of the trees cannot be observed within so short term, but it doesn't provide any further evidence. So there is only argument from the buyer that it's something that cannot be found within short term. So 1 month for notice is much more reasonable. Yeah, it's the buyer's argument, but the buyer doesn't provide any further information about that. So the court finally ruled the non-conformity notice shall be proved by the buyer. Yeah, that it cannot be done within 1 month, within 6 days, and 1 month is reasonable. It's the burden of proof lies in the buyer. Okay, so the buyer cannot argue the non-conformity because the notice was too late, and the buyer doesn't. But the buyer couldn't make any proof of that. So finally, the result is buyer shall pay the original sum, yeah, the whole price, the whole contract price to the Dutch person. Okay, so we have two reminders in this case. The first one, the contract and payment shall be done to and with the same entity, and make sure that you are dealing with the company or the person. Yeah, yeah. It's a serious question. It's a serious topic and serious issue. We have to take care. You have to take care very seriously. Yeah, maybe the contact person is the real person who deals with you, not the not the company represented by this contact person. Yeah, you have to be sure, and especially when you are making any payment, be make sure that the payments make to the right account. Yeah, a payment to a personal account, you have to avoid this. Yeah, it's irregular. You have to avoid this situation. Yeah. So it's rule number one, and rule number two is the attend. If you think this case, if you take this case seriously and argue with your counterpart in a court, make sure you show up in the court. You have to attend the court and you can make a better argument and present further information if needed. Okay, so the end of this code and at the end of this case, and I wish everyone to learn some important things from this case. See you next in next episode. Bye bye.